These are your top 5 real estate myths. Number 1, you must pay a buyer's agent's commission with the changes. Simply not true. Our team has done 25 to 30 transactions since the change in August of 2024, and all but one did the seller pay commission. That one circumstance was a cash buyer where we double-ended it. We represented both buyer and seller. It was a cash buyer. They got a very good deal, and so the seller said, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to pay a commission, so the buyer did pay a commission. To which I would say, if you are a buyer, and if we got you a property that was $100,000 or $50,000 under market value, I'm sure that you would be more open to paying some kind of commission. But the vast majority of the transactions we are seeing, it continues to be business as usual. That being said, because a seller has equity that they can pay the commission out of versus a buyer has to come up with down payment, closing costs, those together we call cash to close, but then on top of that bring actual cash for a commission, it just simply doesn't make sense. The vast majority of the transactions, we continue to see that the seller continues to pay buyer's agent's commission. Myth number 2, that you absolutely have to have 20% down. This one I think has been squashed in years past because there are so many different types of loan programs that are available to buyers, and you absolutely do not need to have 20% down. There's 3% conventional down. There's FHA loans that require as little as 3.5%. Of course, if you have military background, a VA loan allows you to purchase a property with no down payment. There are a ton of different options. The thing to be aware of is how does it relate to PMI, which is mortgage insurance? And again, on some of these smaller government-backed loans, they don't have PMI, like a VA doesn't have PMI. But also, how does it impact your monthly payment? But total myth, great opportunity to get into this market. And I would say, honestly, most first-time home buyers, if the median sales price is $700,000, they don't have $140,000 or 20% to put down. Myth number 3, you don't need an agent in this internet age. Certainly, I would say there is a lot more information that's readily available, but as it relates to our contract, the negotiations, and kind of where things are at, overall experience absolutely matters. I will tell you, with the properties that I have purchased for myself, including investment properties, I have a team member represent me on those purchases. And of course, I'm very experienced. I can do the transaction myself, but I am choosing to have representation. There are so many different reasons why representation is important, certainly the negotiations, but also to have somebody there as an arm's length that is able to provide me with advice. Buying and selling is emotional. And what I found is buying and selling for myself, I'm just as vulnerable to the emotion. And having somebody that I trust to be able to say, hey, this is not a big deal. You should calm down. Let's do the deal. Representation absolutely matters. Not just for the emotional side. Our contract, for those of you that have been around or have done a transaction more than 30 or 40 years ago, our contract has changed quite a bit. All these different changes that you have heard about have only brought more disclosures, advisories, more litigation into the transaction. All the more reason that you need somebody that is on your side, an advocate who represents you and is able to make sure that you are protected. Myth number 4, always price high to leave room for negotiations. I understand the thought process there, but if that was the case, then we should start at $100 million with your listing, because then we can tell the buyer, hey, tell you what, I don't know if you know this, but we came down $99 million to put the deal together. Obviously hyperbole, obviously an exaggeration to prove a point, but what I would say is if you start too high, you end up in a circumstance where you chase the market. And I will tell you, with all the business that I have done or that the team has done, there is numerous times, dozens of times, where I sit with a seller in an appointment, a competitive situation, and I say, you should price the property at X. and they say, yeah, but other agent has said X plus 20%, and so we're going to list with them. And the problem becomes that then over a time period, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days on the market, properties can get a little bit of a stigma. Buyers want what everybody else wants. And what does everybody else want? Why is this property sitting on the market so long? Those different kinds of questions and concerns only lead to a circumstance that in nearly 100% of those circumstances, they end up selling lower than the price that I recommended, because the price that I recommended was fair market value, but the stigma hurts them. So price your property correctly, work with a qualified, experienced agent who can speak to market value. Very, very important. Number 5, the best time to buy is in the spring, or the best time to sell is in the spring, or the only real estate that happens is in the spring. Totally false. And I would say it absolutely relates to you and your timing, because some of the best advice that I can give you is no good financial decisions are made in haste. And so if you're in a circumstance where there's new urgency that is being created, if you're getting squeezed, it's going to make it so that you're not going to be able to perform as advantageous a transaction as you can. If you're waiting for a specific month that, hey, we're going to buy our house or we're going to sell our house in April, May, June, or whatever it is, now all of a sudden you're putting this restriction on yourself and it makes it harder to negotiate. What I will tell you as a buyer, there is opportunity in the wintertime. If somebody is on the market on December 15th, there's a reason that they are on the market, and they are likely more motivated in order to sell the property. So, my name is Steve Pletz, Steve Pletz and team. Let's connect and help you avoid all of the different pitfalls and myths that are out there in real estate.